Welcome to Living Martial Arts with Master Ray Gale, aka the Dark Master. Living Martial Arts discusses and examines the everyday exercise, philosophy, and lifestyle of the martial arts enthusiast. The host talks about his own training, past and present, and he also interviews many martial artists to discover how they continue to live their own martial arts journey. Tune in for top tips on how to get the best out of your martial art. Or perhaps you're thinking of starting a martial art. This podcast offers you an easy way to dip your toe in. Sign up for the newsletter at livingmartialarts.com and get regular updates and training tips direct to your inbox. Follow the Dark Master on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Living Martial Arts.
Hi, hello, it's me again, the Dark Master, coming back with another episode of a fantastic guest and a really, really good friend. I have all the way from Asia, Master Dalton on my call. How are you, sir? How are you doing?
Good. Training
good.
hard and enjoying life.
Excellent. That's the way. That's the best things in life, isn't it? Training hard, okay, and enjoying martial arts, enjoying living the passion. Living the passion. That's the main thing. So you're actually in Asia at the moment. Tell us what you're doing there.
Well, I have some seminars. I have a seminar in the Philippines and in Malaysia and in Cambodia. So, but then we also have, for ITF Union, we have our Asia Championships as well in just outside Manila. So what I did is I closed my classes in July and August in Ireland. Everybody's kind of on holidays. The kids are doing a lot of Gaelic sports. So I've always closed in July and August. So what I did is I just came a little bit earlier. I went to Cambodia. I've always wanted to see Angkor Wat in Cambodia. So you fly from Bangkok into Siem Reap, it's a small city, which is right next to Angkor Wat. We went there, got to see it. It was just something spectacular, a very kind of just mind-blowing place to visit.
Yeah.
And then basically, then I had I've had about three and a half weeks of being in Asia before all the seminars and traveling to the other countries and training every day, reading, eating healthy. Just it's my holiday time. These few weeks here, I love it.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, we were sort of talking off audio there, and I was just saying that fair play to you because I'm a bit of a homeboy. I love being at home with all the things that are getting up in the morning, doing my training, playing my guitars, and just generally not going too far away. But I am looking forward to perhaps doing some traveling again, maybe the next 12, 18 months. I might go to Africa again. We went to Africa many years ago, you and I, and we spent some time watching the African Cup of Nations, which was a really fantastic time. Awesome.
I never forget the atmosphere.
Oh, it was crazy, wasn't it?
Well, we went to I think it was 3 games we went to, but was it 2 or 3? I know there was Mali and Cote d'Ivoire, there was Ghana and Nigeria. Maybe it was 2 games.
Yeah, I think it was 2. Well, the Ghana and Nigeria was a big one, wasn't it? Because
that was a big one.
I
think that was a semi-final, was it? Or it was quarter or semi anyway. But that was a huge game.
It was huge, wasn't it? But the good thing about it, we saw some fantastic, African Premiership players, Drogba, SCN.
Look, I suppose you and I have, you've gone to Ghana many, many times, I know, but we kind of have a passion for traveling and going to those. I know you say you don't really like traveling too much, but we really did have a great experience. Master Outburn as well. But I never forget that goal, that the equalizing goal with Ghana and Nigeria. Nigeria had gone ahead, but you remember the feeling in the stadium when Ghana equalised.
Oh yes,
it was bedlam. It was fantastic.
Erupted, and it went on all night as well, didn't it? When they won, it was
something special.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Well, I've been doing on the Taekwondo front, I've been doing well, a little bit of a series really, and it was to do with the mindset of a martial artist. Perhaps talking about the competitive edge and the mindset of a martial artist, and how that manifests itself in the sense that how they approach competing, and whether you can develop a strong mindset to compete, or whether it's something you naturally have, or I don't know, maybe it's the people that get to that position already have a strong mindset, and that's why they get there. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that.
I think that the individuals, just their innate personality is a big part of it, certainly. But look, there's a lot of stuff that there's even how their home environment. There's everything. There's so many different things involved. But I suppose look, when we were younger, I don't know about you now, but when I was younger, I was very motivated by the tournament side of things.
Yeah.
Like for example, for me, when I was a kid, if I played drafts with somebody, I would want to win it. If I played a game of chess, I would want to win it. If I did running, I would want. It's just in there.
Yeah.
But having said that, is an interesting one between my two sons. Jordan would have been very, very competitive. If he did run, he'd want to win. If he was doing Gaelic football, he'd want to win. Julian didn't really care. So that's interesting. It's something I never thought about. And I'd be wondering, like, yes, when it comes to Taekwondo, he'd want to win everything. So maybe it's just what's motivates you as an individual as well. But I suppose the bigger thing for me is the challenge of competition is fantastic, but there's a lot of problems as well with ego and so on, and that's for me is a big issue.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, I always my sort of life and my time in Taekwondo and the things that I've managed to do achieve, whether we call it any amount of success, I've always put down to my mother. Because my mother was a big motivating factor. She was always telling me that that I could do this and I could do that and I could achieve, and I need to push hard and whatever. So from a very young age, even as a young footballer, I trained hard, and I actually didn't mind so much if I won, as long as I knew I did my best and I was well prepared. And I brought that over into Taekwondo, and I don't know whether that was something that other people had from an early age, or whether they managed to develop it later. I look at my young students, some of the youngsters, and I think, wow, I'm doing push-ups, and I can see the odd person going, yeah, they're just going that extra mile and doing the extra 2, whereas other people just giving up.
I know. Well, my father was very good at Gaelic football. But he was a very quiet man. My mother wouldn't have been really into sports, but at the same time, my father was quiet. So I grew up really not. I wasn't good at ball sports, unlike you. So I was only motivated by when I took up Kung Fu or Taekwondo afterwards. It was, but like I never had that pressure or motivation from my mom or dad. It was just in me as a kid. I just wanted to always try to win no matter what I did. Yeah. But now I suppose I see, like, for example, I'm sure you're the very same. All the trophies and medals we've won as competitors.
Yeah.
Where are they?
Yeah. Well, I know mine are in landfill in China somewhere.
there you go. Exactly. And when I was a kid, I had them up on a special in my bedroom. I had all the water, everywhere. Yeah, and they're all in the bin. And I suppose even my kids, I kind of always emphasize to them, no matter what you win, that it's, look, Taekwondo is divided, kickboxing is divided. I know WACO is now going towards Olympic recognition, but we do martial arts that are they're minor sports in many ways. Well, a lot of people do martial arts, but it's divided between different organizations and so on. So I always would say to them, keep your feet on the ground. And I have to say, on that way, the boys would never like we'll say we had a tournament there in Mexico, and Julian was only 18, but he won it. But he'd know straight away at the end of the tournament, it's nice to have a win and so on, but ultimately it shouldn't change your attitude or certainly have an ego from winning a competition. And for me, that's the big problem of the martial arts is it is like it's a too much of an ego issue in the tournament side of it. But at the same time, I like teaching for tournament taekwondo, but I'm just always emphasizing in my classes about, keep the ego under check, I don't know that I say this, but because this is, I think, the second time we did this interview. But I love that George Harrison phrase that the challenge of your life is to find your true self. And I often think that one of our failures in Taekwondo is that the winning of tournaments takes us away from the true self. Because the ego becomes too big. But also it's the same with people becoming 7th, 8th, 9th degree, higher ranks in Taekwondo. I mean, people have this thing, they have to live up to a particular image, and then they get away from being Ray Gale or Don Dalton.
Yeah.
The people that we are. So some people, they only want to be called by Sakyun or whatever, Master or... So like if a parent comes into my class and they address me as Don, they're not doing Taekwondo. I would talk to them the same as I would talk to anybody outside that's not involved in Taekwondo. Whereas some people are lost in that kind of etiquette of Taekwondo. There's an etiquette and protocol for us in our classes, but we shouldn't get away from us being normal people as well, I think.
Yeah, no, well, I would agree with that, and I think you said a few things there. Keeping your feet on the ground is really important, and I think it is important for a competitor. And I think you can get lost in it because, particularly if you're really successful, when that stops, and all that, for want of a better word, adoration and I've won this and I'm this champion and that champion. When that goes, what have you got left? And I've seen so many people do so well as competitors, yet when it's finished, they leave, they lose their focus on their martial art because it was all about that, that winning, and that was their end goal, really. So they sort of lose it. And I think many years ago, I had a meal. It was actually with first Grandmaster Ree. And this is going back in the 80s. It was early 80s, and I was going out for a meal. We had a grading. I went out for a meal with him. I remember asking him a question: how do you think tournaments can improve? And he looked at me and he didn't answer for a long time. And then he looked at me and said, "Taekwondo isn't about tournaments." And I thought, and I just went quiet. Just went quiet. I didn't say anything. He wasn't annoyed, but what he was trying to say was, Taekwondo is far more than just tournaments. He wasn't a great fan of tournaments at that time, but realized that it was a necessary evil. And I didn't understand it until many years later. I could see why he didn't like it, because it did change a lot of people. They went from the ego got the best of them, as you mentioned.
Yeah, of course. But they're normal human, I suppose, our normal human frailties comes in, and it's but I suppose even the rank system, color belts. So we expect our color belts to carry on in a particular way. Yet when we become really high ranks, then we carry on in a really bad way ourselves.
Yes, yeah.
We're laying out the groundwork for the low grades, and then we're carrying on in a particular the exact opposite way ourselves. Yeah. So I think that's a challenge for us. All right, I suppose General Che said before he died that he had the physical side of Taekwondo had gone so far, but the weakness was in the do and so on, and that's definitely the area that. But I suppose as we get older as well, we become more and more aware of that.
Yeah.
It's funny, but I think when I was young, a teenager, I was headstrong.
Yeah.
And then when kind of in your 20s, 27, 28, you kind of think, now I have, I know what it's about or whatever, and then you're 40 years of age and you're like, God, that 28-year-old Don Dalton really hadn't a clue.
No.
And then when you're 50 and you're saying that 40-year-old Don Dalton had the clue. And it's kind of, now you realize, I still don't have a clue, Maybe that's a good sign. Eventually we're starting to.
Yeah, I think we changed, but that sort of reminds me of something. When I reluctantly became a Taekwondo master, because I wasn't particularly it wasn't a focus of mine at that time. There was this thing that they didn't promote masters who were younger than 45 at that time. That was sort of an unwritten rule. But now there are obviously Taekwondo students who are starting at an early age and they're becoming masters at a very young age. And I think that's a really big we're sort of going off topic a bit, but I think that's a really big burden to carry. I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, of course, look, I suppose you think we have, for example, Master Hollingsworth. He started at 4 years of age, so, but it is a big burden. There's no doubt about that. And like, I never forget, actually, because it was Master Taekwon-Do promoted me to 7th degree, and I'll never forget what he said to me. He said, I want to congratulate you on your promotion to 7th degree. But then he said, he says, but of course, there's no such thing as a master. And I really think, I never forgot that. I think that was the key to that really was, in fairness, I have never heard anybody else say that. And I kind of never forgot it. I thought it was a really, really good thing. So, I mean, let's face it, how, I look at it myself as I'm trying to grow and try to improve in Taekwondo always. But like, really, I don't feel like a master of what, Maybe we should talk about that more often, because I suppose a lot of us we believe in this persona that what we're meant to be, and then that's again is our big downfall,
Yeah.
So I know this is getting away from the whole tournament side, but it's all connected up as well, ultimately.
Yeah, I think so. Well, what's again, this always brings me my mind works like this, but occasionally when I send emails to people, at the bottom I put Master Gael, and then underneath I put Master of Nothing, not even himself.
That's really cool.
And I've done that on many occasions, because sometimes as I think, well, what am I a master at here? I can kick and I can punch, and I used to do it a lot better. I don't do it so good now.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah. Going back, you said about Choi-Jung-Hwa. Well, actually, when I took my 6th degree, I was lucky enough to take it under General Che, a few years before he died. And he said to me, "Oh, do you read philosophy?" And I said, "No, I don't, sir." I actually said, "Well, I have read a little bit." He said, "Oh, you must read more. You must read more philosophy." And in fact, when I saw him a few years just again prior to his death in Vienna, I said to him, "Yes, I've been reading Asian philosophy. I've been reading some of the Greek philosophers as well." And he said, "Oh, that's good. That's good." And I think he was saying to me that he was trying to say to me that it's not all about kicking and punching. You have to have a certain mindset. If you're going to lead people, you have to have a certain mindset. So that was an interesting. If you're talking about a martial mindset, then he said to me, really, you need a mindset of somebody people are going to look up to and respect. But it's not all about your kicking and punching.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I wonder, has that message hasn't been put across enough, I think, I suppose, look, General Che is gone now. With every decade, there's less and less people that have had the chance to train with him, And maybe I think there's almost an overemphasis, Ray, on the tournament side of things now.
Yes.
And that's somebody like that was big. I mean, I loved competitions and so on.
Yeah.
But I think we've lost a lot of what Taekwondo should be about.
I agree. I really do. agree, and it's sort of taken away from what is a fantastic actual art, Taekwondo. You know, the dynamic side of Taekwondo is fantastic to look at. Not just the fighting, but the training. You know, and the the interaction when you're sparring, and the
Yes.
jump, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it is a real shame, because the sort of competition side is almost come to number one in the pecking order, and everything else has really been dropped right down.
And there's another problem as well with that in the tournament side of things is, I don't know how you feel about this, but I think as well that the whole area of self-defense has really suffered as well. It seems to be like just pushed to the side.
Yeah.
And actually, if you ask your students, like if you ask the young kids, what do you want to do? Just the odd time, what do you want to do today? Do you want to do work on sparring, patterns? And, some people will say sparring, some people will say patterns, but an awful lot of them will say, can we do self-defense, sir? But there's been a lot of bad self-defense being taught in Taekwondo as well, and very unrealistic.
Yes, yeah. Well,
that will not work.
Yeah. I think you're right there. I mean, I've recently got one. In fact, one of my ex students comes up, and he does a bit of self-defense. He's actually does it for a living. He's a bodyguard, basically. So he does a little bit, but he talks about the brain side of it, and the thinking and the psychological side of self-defense, and how it affects you, and your tunnel vision when these things happen. And that's really good. But yeah, I think you're right. But I also think that because the further we've gone away from the early days of Taekwondo and those early pioneers, the more that that self-defense has sort of disappeared, because we don't it doesn't get pressure tested anymore. We don't do perhaps as much destruction as we used to, and that we're sparring with safety equipment rather than without safety equipment. So people are not getting sometimes don't feel a psychic like you used to. I remember saying, right, we were doing line work, and then we just go, right, line up, face each other, spar, no equipment, just spar.
Right. Even in the gradings, if you remember, I'm sure it was the same in the UKTA.
Yeah.
We with the RITA, when I started, because there was only one organization at the start, really, it was RITA in Ireland. We did our gradings, we did sparring without any foot pads or hand pads, It's a different game totally. It's a totally different game when you're sparring without pads.
Yeah, it is.
But in fairness, I suppose as well, I do think that the high level Taekwondo sparring, the contact is quite hard. Depends on the organization as well. I know with the some organizations have gone particularly light, and some have gone very, very hard. So it depends really. But I don't like to go into to put one down. It's like a lot of ITF people, they criticize WT all the time criticizing. In fact, the WTF people are criticizing it now because there's more lead leg kicks and so on as well. But I always don't like to be criticizing other martial arts or other organizations, because I remember years ago in a small club I have called Mill Street Taekwondo. It's a rural town, about 3,000 people. I got a guy called Christophe Dundee. He was from Côte d'Ivoire, and he was living in France, and he came to work in small Mill Street.
Yeah.
And he was in and out of the French national team in WTF. He was about 85 kilos. And this guy, when he kicked, I was dreaming about it. I was hoping this guy was going to stay training with me. Yeah. He was astounding. Now, he only stayed for about a year, and then he went back to France. And I tell you, all of our people had respect for WTF people.
Yeah.
When they were sparring Christophe Dundee. You remember we had great fighters like Patrick O'Connor.
Yes.
Christophe would kick them. And these guys were saying, man, this is too hard.
Yeah.
So I know that there's a lot of these phenomenal fighters, like, in TAGB.
Yeah.
Like, you think about how their top fighters, they're going to be winning medals in any ITF World Championships as well, So, like, there's just, you should just appreciate. You think of guys like Joseph. Is it, how do you say his name?
Yeah,
Skimbury.
yeah.
These guys were great fighters, and they would have won in any organization.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think sort of almost back to that. Our initial, we sort of got off track, which is fine, by the way. Our martial mindset. It's sometimes we have to be a bit more open with our martial mindset, and try and give more credit to all of us, really, because we're all doing the bottom line is we may kick and punch in a slightly different way, but it's still kicking and punching, and you got to respect everybody and their own journey, their own style, what they want to do, because it's all got some benefit. Everything, there's benefit in all of it. I see some great karate exponents, which makes makes me go wow. I see some kung fu exponents, think wow, that is awesome. And people from all disciplines.
About I don't know, was it 4 weeks ago? I was in I forget now even which cities I was. It was outside Birmingham. We had a course in with the ITF Union in Master Hollingsworth was organising it. So we were talking about great competitors, and I was saying my hero was Tony Sewell, Master Tony Sewell, who and a lot of the people didn't know who he was, No. I was saying, of course, like he was ITF World Champion in '81, and then he was with Taekwon-Do International. He won a few different world titles with team and individual, and of course you probably were sparring him and grew up with him. He was my hero. I had a picture of him. I still remember over my bed.
Yeah,
and then I met him in real life. It turns out he's one of the nicest guys.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
No, and for me, and a lot of his nickname was the Iceman because he's just a quiet person. Yeah, but actually, for me, the person I saw was like he was my hero. And usually you say, don't meet your heroes because they let you down. Yeah. There's that, you've probably heard that, but like I always felt that I had him come to Ireland for some seminars, and he was my hero before and afterwards. Yeah, I just thought he was astounding, but he was very cool and easygoing. But my God, what a competitor! Oh, so I think a lot of people, the younger people, don't realize how great these guys were. I put him up there with the greats of ITF, like Paul Germain and all these guys. Like I don't think any of these guys could beat Master Tony Sewell. To be in my opinion, even these great competitors, he was just amazing. But still, for me, he was very. I think he was a very humble person. So very good role model. And he's still my hero anyway. Yeah. And Master Ogburn and I talked about him because he had to compete with him and so on. And he said he was his hero, Well,
I went to see him last year, actually. I hadn't seen him for many years. So myself and a friend, Master Ferguson, we went up to see him and just to spend a little time with him, which was fantastic to see him. And I also, on my very first World Championships abroad, which was 83, 84, I went to Los Angeles to Master Hill's competition. I roomed with him, actually. We were in the same room. And got to know him. And as you say, quiet, such a lovely guy. And it was almost really strange because you see this really quiet guy, very relaxed, and then went on the square and just demolished people. I'm thinking the two don't go together. It used to mess with my head. I could think, well, how can he be that cool and then just do what he did?
He was astounding. As a teenager, I never stopped. We had remember this Geico Spectacular with the Jeff Smith team that came. Yeah. I watched that video so many times. I actually learned and formulated a lot of stuff just by continually watching that. It was you. Of course, I think it was Howard Sewell was also on. His brother was also on that team as well. Yeah. But like it was full of legends of like Troy Dorsey from the USA and so on.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah,
My
awesome.
word.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Well,
and I met him as well in
yeah, yeah. I think I was trying to. I remember. I met Troy. Sorry, some of those guys. In Florida, in the early
yes,
thousands. Yeah, yeah. Because I was trying to think whether Tommy. Do you remember Tommy Williams?
Williams. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because
Ah,
I
yeah,
actually
world champion.
yeah, I actually fought him at in Wembley in the ring
Yes,
and got absolutely mullered by him.
he was a full contact world champion in
he, was,
PKA.
he was a full contact world champion, but I'll tell you what, he was a lovely, lovely guy. I was just thankful I got out of the ring and walked out.
But he was a lot heavier. I think he was more. I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
you
I
were
was,
early.
yeah, he wasn't that much heavier than me, to be honest. But no, he wasn't. He was probably sort of I was probably a light, and he was probably a welter or something like that. But yeah, he was a lovely guy actually. He was a really nice chap, and I remember going up and sort of shaking his hands, and it was a good lesson in martial arts for me at that time. So yeah,
The PKA was very big back then at that point.
it was.
And you had some really great fighters, and you had this guy Johnny Stereo from Canada, and really top fighters,
Long
But
streak.
no, it's the MMA. It's kind of the one championship, and it's the UFC.
Yeah, I don't mind watching a bit of MMA, but I still miss the old days of UFC and MMA when you could almost tell which style people did.
Yeah.
Going back to the Gracies and so on in the very early, where they used to come on with the crowd.
Well, I didn't like it at the start, Ray. Yeah. I was kind of, I'm a big boxing fan, and I was kind of a little bit, maybe I suppose, horrified by it. But no, you become a little bit used to it.
Yeah.
And no, I don't really follow it. I mean, I follow UFC so much, but
yeah,
I do appreciate the level of professionalism, and I mean, the people that are training in it, it's fine details.
Yeah.
So
it's good. I mean, I can appreciate their the skilling it in that.
There is serious skill.
Yeah, what I liked about it in the early days was the fact that you could tell that this was a Taekwondo exponent, this was a karate, this was a grappler. Blah blah blah. You can't tell now.
No, not so much.
They do everything. They work on their stand-up game. They work on their ground game, and so on. And so you can't quite see the differences. But I just used to like the fact that a grappler used to get in there with a striker, and see how they handle it, and they had almost totally different approaches.
Yeah, of course.
Good. So
Julian is training away now with the SPG in Cork as well. Not so much in the last few months, but he had a few injuries. But like he was telling me even that they'd be saying to him, that, and people don't realize this because a lot of the MMA people will put down Taekwondo, but they'd be saying to him that he goes too hard. But a lot of top class Taekwondo people, the level of contact is very, very hard. It's something we have to watch now because we're learning a lot now about concussion and so on.
Yes.
Whereas in the past, if our people were concussed, I remember in 2007 we had the World Championships in Birmingham with the ITF with Che Jianhua and Leon Bryden, who's a really great fighter. One of our guys we were in the team final versus Argentina, and Leon got a reverse turning kick to the head. It was completely knocked out. Now, Leon kept fighting after that. I was the coach. If it was me now, I'd be saying, no, that's it, finished. But Leon finished the fight. He couldn't remember anything afterwards. He couldn't remember where am I, So, because the big danger is the secondary concussion,
Yes.
So that's something probably we should look at as well in Taekwondo in high-level tournaments. When somebody takes a very, very hard blow, with the minute break can be a problem because it allows somebody to recover somehow, but actually probably they shouldn't be fighting anymore.
Yeah.
So the minute break, it can be actually a negative thing, you know. So we're learning a lot through rugby and so on about the issues of concussion, you know.
Yeah, I think everyone's definitely a bit more, a lot more aware and more careful now. You know, certainly with young people as well, who, you know, we all know that you know, when we're in there and you get hit hard, and you always want to carry on. You know,
always.
If you ask them, you say, right, are you okay? And we'll always go, yeah. So it's taking that decision away from them and saying,
Yes.
no, you're not. You can't carry on. You know, and that's it. And I think that's important. Anyone listening to this, I'm sure will agree that sometimes, particularly with and the mindset, the strong mindset gets in the way then, because you don't want to stop. You want to go, right, no, I'm okay, I can fight.
Exactly. In fact, we had two fighters on that team that both should not have probably have been fighting, because we had Colin O'Shaughnessy, who had an issue in the individuals and the heavyweights. He got kicked with his shin and was knocked out. Yeah. So Colin fought in the team final, because we got to the final without him, because he had to go to the hospital. But he came back and he fought the last fight of the team. Probably shouldn't have been fighting at all. I talked to Colin about this after. Colin is an absolute warrior. His attitude is, but if it was back, if I was there now with the knowledge I have now, I wouldn't have had him fighting at all, even though he won. We ended up winning because of him winning the last fight, but he probably shouldn't have been fighting, you know. And the reason he went out last was because the Argentinians had different weights on their team. We had 6 big guys, and they put their lightweight, their minus 58 kilos out last, because they thought Colin wasn't going to fight, you know.
Yeah.
So that, you know, when our guys stood up, they were kind of looking, you know, and they were kind of surprised.
Yeah.
So I think it's better to take it out of the hands of the coach. We didn't know anything about concussion.
No. Well, in my sort of local events that I do for Puma, I tend to defer to the paramedics. I say, look, you know, you decide if you think they're not fit, regardless of what they say or anyone else says. Okay, that's it. You know, they have to leave the square, and I think that you have to take a sensible approach.
Absolutely. But so you go back to that Geico spectacular, which was a phenomenal tournament. I think it was, I don't know, you maybe it's 1985.
Yes, it was. I was really upset because I wanted to fight in that, and I wasn't. I can't remember if I was injured or something, but it was actually a fighter called Dave Mears who went in.
Oh yeah, Dave Mears. I remember.
He went
aggressive.
Yeah, he went the lightweight. He was probably better suited for that, to be honest.
I don't know, but I think he fought Charlie Lee in it.
That's right.
He did fight Charlie. Yeah,
he did.
And the reason I was going back to it was because Troy Dorsey fought Harjit Singh.
Yes, I know.
He was a top class fighter.
Oh.
But Troy Dorsey, obviously, he hit him with a shot, and that was it. It was finished very quickly, like within 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And of course, because of our Taekwondo rules, it continued. And Harjit he was blinking. He was already concussed. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
And it continued. And then he got a jumping back kick, and he dropped down, and Troy Dorsey again was WACO full contact world champion. He was IBF boxing world champion at featherweight. You don't want to be hit by that guy in that way, you know.
Yeah.
So it's an area of weakness in our tournaments, definitely. But Troy Dorsey, I met him anyway I had a seminar in Texas, in Dallas, and Master Arnold said he was good friends with Mr. Dorsey, and I said, "Are you serious?" I said, I love Troy Dorsey. I know so much about him. Can we go and meet him?
Yeah.
I'm going to ring up Mr. Dorsey, and he rings him up. He says, "Come on down." We went down to his dojang, his center. We spent the day together. We had pizza together. He was such a nice man. And you'll find out how somebody is, how they treat the person who was bringing the food.
Yeah.
And how respectful he was to the lady that was coming along, giving us the pizza. You really find somebody's true colors on how they treat that person.
Yeah. I think I agree with. Yeah. I heard. I don't know where I heard it. Whether it was an interview I was listening to or reading it, I cannot remember. But it was an interview that Troy Dorsey was doing, and he said that when you're called Troy and you come from Texas, you have to be.
That was in the Geico video. That's where you heard it from.
All right. Okay. Well, you're named Troy. You come from Texas. You got to be able to fight. So
no, I asked him about him winning the featherweight world title at IBF. He was IBF featherweight world champion. Yeah. Now I don't know. I mean, the what you call them, the heavyweights that were from Ukraine. I have the mental block on them. The two brothers.
The Klitschko's, no, not
the Klitschko's were Wacko. One of them was Wacko world champion, but he's amateur. But I don't know anybody who was professional kickboxing world champion going over and winning like IBF or WBC or WBA world title. There probably is, but it's fairly unique. So I was asking him about it. He said, I was training with. I said, when did you realize you could win this? He said, I was training with Steve Cruz at the time. Now, Steve Cruz had fought Barry McGuigan in 1985, and he beat Barry McGuigan. It was it got Ring Magazine Fight of the Year. It was 15 rounds in the heat of Las Vegas. It was unbelievably hot. Yeah, and McGuigan wilted in the 15th round, and Steve Cruz was world champion.
Yeah, I remember that.
He said he was sparring partner for Steve Cruz for that fight.
Right.
And he said, I was sparring Steve Cruz all the time. And when Steve Cruz won the world title, I knew I could be world champion in boxing. I thought that was amazing because it shows the mentality. If you believe deep down, that guy I'm sparring, he's just won the world title, I can be the world champion. And then he did go on to become the world champion then,
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. No, it's great. No, good. Like I said, the Americans at that time when they're PKA, great fighters. Longstreet as well, wasn't it? Longstreet was
John Longstreet, yeah. He was on that team as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very good fighter. And then you had Charlie Lee and John Chung, who were more forms. Yeah. The kind of I suppose musical forms is what was there very, very famous for. They were fantastic.
They did when I went to Los Angeles '84. I think it was George Chung was doing
George Chung
with Cynthia Rothrock.
They were together.
Yeah,
they were partners back then.
Yeah, just before she sort of moved into films. I've got a picture with her actually, and the team that we fought, and she was just trying to break into films at that time.
They did a great demonstration to the theme music of Shaft.
Okay, yeah.
It was
fantastic.
Which is great. You know that tune, Don?
Yes. Yes, I've got it here.
Isaac Hayes.
I've got it on vinyl here. Yeah, one of my.
Yeah, that's great. I love it.
Yeah, I've got it on vinyl. I haven't played it for many years, but I used to play it a lot. Yeah, fantastic. You remind me that I'm going to have to get that out for a tournament training.
And do you know what? It's great as well. Here's a good one if anybody's listening in there. Father Ted, that great comedy show.
Okay, yeah.
You Google Father Ted and Shaft, the theme music from Shaft.
Yes.
For me, it's probably the best scene of the whole series.
Yeah, I know. Really good. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Remember that. But I tell you what, so talking about the martial mindset, we've gone on a few tangents, but that's okay because it's all connected. It's all connected, which is great. So, what are your plans for the rest of the year? I mean, obviously you're going to come back home at some point.
Yeah. Well, I'm back on August 12th, and then I'm trying to get a ticket to see. This is aside now from Taekwon-Do. I'm trying to get a ticket for the Liverpool game with Bournemouth on the weekend of the 18th of August. But the following week, then I go to USA for teaching an IIC.
Okay.
And then I'm gone for a week, and then I come back, and then the following weekend I back teaching classes, and the following weekend I go to Germany for teaching a course, and it just continues.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like that all the time. To be honest with you, before I came here to Asia, I was burnt out.
Yeah.
I love traveling, but the last trip might have been the one in Birmingham. I came home and I said, I'm wrecked. I'm really, I was gone. Like, so I kind of needed this time. And it's funny. I come here to wind down, but I'm training in the gym every day for two and a half hours. So it's a kind of I suppose maybe I don't know about you, but I kind of have an addictive personality, and that's why I never drank alcohol.
Oh yeah, yeah. Certainly when it comes to training, I find it tough not to do it.
yeah. I feel bad if I don't train as well, but also I enjoy, to be honest with you. Yeah.
It's something. Well, maybe at some point, because our paths haven't crossed for a long time. I'm sure they will at some point in the future. As I said, I'm tending to be more of a homeboy these days. I'm not traveling much, and trying to do things a little bit closer to home. I've sort of taken myself away from it, really. Although I am due to go. I'm hoping to go to Vienna towards the end of the year for an IIC.
Yes.
And what I'd like to do is perhaps to go and watch the Puma squad compete in certain places, but money's tight at the moment.
Yeah, I know.
The cost of living and everything else is it's difficult. Although I've got older children, I've got younger children to finance as well.
Of course. I know.
Yeah,
I know. And but you're still living in Bristol, aren't you?
No, not Bristol. No, I'm living in between Bristol and Swindon. I live in just outside Chippenham. Yeah. So not far.
Because I moved as well. Like I was living in Cork City since I don't know, almost 30 years. But we kind of moved back to my hometown. Is a place called Tralee.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I moved to kind of right on the beach. It's about 10 minutes from the town. So I moved there in November. Kind of bought a very old house, and it's lovely because you walk out and you're on the sea. There's beaches all around, and it's beautiful.
Lovely. Yeah.
So it's kind of going back. My brother lives in town. My sister, my mother is still alive. So Master Reardon, Master Moriarty. Well, it's Jason and John.
Yeah.
We're lifelong friends, So it's lovely. Like the week before I left, I found a nice cafe in my hometown that I never knew, and I met Jason Moriarty, Master Moriarty. Yeah. We went for a coffee. It's like a new lease of life in many ways. I love it. So it is a change, but I love it. Yeah.
No, that's good. Well, listen, hang on. We'll continue after this. But I just want to say, thank you to you, really, it's been lovely catching up. I hope my people listening to this have enjoyed the passion that you obviously exude when you're talking about martial arts and Taekwondo in particular. And hopefully we'll catch up soon in person. We'll have my tipple of choice is green tea. So we'll have
I'm still on coffee, but that's bad, probably.
A green tea together. Well, no, not really. I do enjoy a bit of coffee as well, but main thing is a green tea. And also had somebody who's given me a large box of ginseng tea actually recently. So
I got that before in one of the tournaments we had in South Korea, but I didn't know what to do with it, and I gave it away.
All right. Yes, so I've got some. But listen, thanks ever so much. Those listening to this, I'll be back soon. Me, the Dark Master, with another podcast. And just want to say thank you very much to Master Dalton. Not only is a great friend, but he also works hard in Taekwondo as well, and gives up his time for other people, which is great. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks again. Bye-bye.